Hello class, and welcome to the tutorial for QSO-320 final project for the coffee shop. The first part will be the solver section, if you see in the Excel spreadsheets. And the scenario here is the store has $20,000 to purchase next month's coffee supplies. So how much of each coffee should they purchase to maximize their profit? So here's a table representing cost per pound, revenue per pound, and then profit per pound available for purchase. It actually should be pounds, not per pound, because it's how many pounds they can purchase of each coffee. So I will go in and correct that. And then they have a total budget of $20,000, and this is the same data here in the cost per pound. Now, one thing that needs to be done first is what is the profit per pound? So you're going to need to calculate that. So you go in here and you say plus sign, and then revenue per pound minus the cost per pound. And that's basically the profit per pound. So I will drag that down without the dollar signs. This way it's a relative calculation, automatically increments each cell as you drag it down. And that prevents, if you put dollar signs in front of the cell numbers, it would keep them the same and not increment them. So you don't want to do that. So that's the profit per pound. And now if you go in here and you look at total profit, it's going to be F6 times C15, which is going to be whatever number of pounds. And then you'll have this cell times this, which is going to be the pounds of Sunrise. And that's going to, if you take a minute to look at that, pause this video if you need to understand how to profit per pound times the number of pounds gives you the total profit. And then at the end, it's adding up all those. So the next thing we're going to do is set up the solver model, and we will go data, solver. It'll bring this up. So the set objective, I had my cell on H16, so it's H16, which is total profit, because that is our objective. We want to maximize it, and in order to do this, we want to change variables C15 to G15, which are how many pounds of each coffee that we buy. Now the constraints are very important here, and we need to carefully construct those. Say add. That cell reference has to be less than or equal to morning roast. Available you can't buy more than 400 pounds of that coffee. So we add it. And then we say this one has to be less than or equal to, make sure Sunrise Java. Oh, I'm sorry. That cell has to be less than or equal to that cell. So that was D15, less than or equal to the pounds of Sunrise Java. So we add that in. And then we say fall pumpkin has to be less than or equal to the total pounds, 100. And the reason we use cells instead of plugging in the numbers is because what if we were to change the available for purchase and say, hey, you know, I might want to change the mix of purchasing, and I'll tell you why in a minute, why you might want to do that. So that's why it's better to reference the cell instead of plugging in any hard numbers. So what do I have so far? I'm up to E. I need to put F and G in, so I add F has to be less than or equal to regular Joe. And then I add G, and it has to be less than or equal to the light latte. So I say, okay, I'm done entering my constraints. I make sure I entered them all correctly, all the coffee types. And then one more that we're missing is the total budget of $20,000. So we say our total cost has to be less than or equal to $20,000. So again, hard-coded, because what if you decide, okay, I'm going to put more money into it than $20,000, I'm going to somehow increase my budget. So you put it the cell reference instead of hard coding so that the math will still perform the same. And I say, okay. So if I check this very carefully, it should be exactly the cells I meant it to be. You always want to check your work and make sure. And then I'm going to say solve. So on my other screen on my computer, it says solver found a solution. It should say this on your screen too. Keep solver solution, and it'll generate the report. So I say okay. And I come back to this screen, and you see that my total profit is $19,638. My total cost is $20,000, which was my budget. So I look at my results and I see how many pounds of each I should order, and I notice I get a very bizarre number here, and nothing here. So I'm leaving this initially in this video because I want to show you it's the result of me making a mistake in the solver parameters. So I'll go back to the solver parameters and look, what did I do? And if I go down the line here for G, 15, C, D, E, F, G, you notice I have G10 less than or equal to G10. Well, that's not correct. I need to fix that. So I'm going to change that to G15 is less than or equal to G10 for the amount of available for purchase of the light latte. So I'll say okay, and it should be C, D, E, F, G, and H, and then all the G's, and I can rerun this now and it should give me the proper answer. So I come down here, it says keep solver solutions, reports. I want a sensitivity report, limits report. I'll say okay. What it does is it generates extra tabs on the spreadsheet so you can see the answer report, the sensitivity report, the limits report, and the solver. And now you'll see I have different, more logical answers in here. Now, you'll still need to answer questions 1, 2, 3, and 7, but I wanted to point out something for you to consider in this. If you notice, you need to understand what the data is telling you, why it's telling you this, and how it's telling you. But if you're trying to maximize revenue, you would think you're going to sell the coffee, most of the coffee that makes the most profit. So morning roast, sunrise java, profit per pound. Sunrise java makes the most, but you can only maximize at 200. And to make the most profit, you're going to minimize the one that makes the least profit. So look at your profits per pound. Regular Joe here is only $11 profit per pound, so it maximized the amount of coffee you can buy for everything except Regular Joe, and that is basically just the lowest number because it has the lowest profit. But one thing to consider here is, can you really do this? Because if your customers want more Regular Joe than anything else, then you maximizing for profit doesn't necessarily give you enough supplies to make what the customer demand is. So yeah, you can buy 400 pounds, 200, 100, 168. What if your customers don't want mostly morning roast and they want mostly regular Joe? Well, then you're going to run out, and your customers will not be happy. That's something to consider. Is what is your sales data telling you? Not your sales cost data, but your actual sales telling you that you need to order supplies in order to meet the customer demand. So that's basically how you do the solver. I made one mistake and had to correct it, but you're likely to do that also sometimes, so it's good to understand how to correct it. So again, if you have any questions, contact me and I'd be glad to answer them. If you're having trouble with this, need more clarification, I'd be glad to go over it again. So thank you. Have a great day, and I will record part 2 for the what if scenario. Thank you. Bye.